And we're live. I'm so excited to have you on the Power Chat series, MJ. Today, our guest is MJ Amba. He won the Intermountain Karate Showdown. And I'm really excited to have you on the show, MJ. How are you doing today?
I'm super excited. I'm glad for the opportunity to actually be on this show. Been trying for the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's great. Uh, And so you won open weight at this tournament. Could you tell me a little bit more about how this event and the tournament overall went for you?
I know I brought 20 students to Mike Tobin's. I think he always had a great event and had a great venue. I think everyone was just really excited for the West because this was the first big tournament that we've had for a minute, and I believe there was 15 fighters in open weight, and there's just
Wow.
a lot of competition. I was super excited, and I just wanted to kind of. I knew Jack wasn't competing, so I was like, man, I got to win one for Jack because that's coach.
Mhm. So you brought first of all two big numbers in there that I just want to pull out. You brought 20 students, which is quite a lot of students, and it's really great to see you bringing the next generation up while also carving a name out for yourself on the sport karate scene. You coming on here, you winning out of also another big number, 15 fighters in what seems to be a circuit that's starting to open up. So how did your students do?
I think we were the most successful school at the time, and we've been working this whole last year. I know when everyone shut down, there was a lot of information out there that if you want to really get good at the sport, it was out there because
Mm.
even though dojos weren't open, everybody went through Zoom, and I jumped on that, and I was doing 4 or 5 Zoom sessions a week at least.
Yeah, and you're young, and I mean, a lot of school owners were able to adapt, but one of the advantages that we have sort of in this age of technology is that we're so used to it using computers and Skype and FaceTime and all like that. So I'm sure that you had sort of like a seamless transition into it, given also that a lot of private lessons are online as well too. So
hmm
did you encounter any problems, or was it as smooth as I'm sort of envisioning it for you?
There was a few hiccups every now and then, just mostly connection issues, maybe if it was snowing or something like that. But overall, not really. It's just having to. It was kind of like a live like Zumba class for the most part, and maybe the strictness level wasn't where you want it to be at all the times. But
Right.
I'm just
Good
glad
point.
that kids were able to do something because I know it's crazy to be stuck at home all day.
Yeah, definitely. And so you said that there were 15 fighters that you had to get through, including yourself. How did your matches go?
Um, it took me a minute to wake up in my first match. I may have like looked at the guy and I kind of underestimated him, but I woke up later on throughout it. Second match was pretty smooth. I think there was definitely the later matches where it was a little deep. I think Terry gave me the hardest fight, especially with his he was been working with Jack and his setups were on par, and I just had to like kind of dig to another level for that one.
Hmm. Hmm. And were you able to do the Jack Felton seminar?
Yeah, I always do Jack's seminar just because I love to support him, and he's always behind my back, and he's got me, so I might as well just help him and kind of make it easier.
Of course, of course. And so was this you said that you sort of had to wake up for your first match, and I think that's a common experience for a lot of fighters, especially when you see them and you might underestimate them for whatever reason, or just because you have to sort of get into the zone. Was this your first in-person tournament in a while, or have you been competing?
This is my first. That was my first in-person tournament in like a year and a half, and
Wow.
so I wasn't really nervous. I was kind of more confident, maybe a little
Okay.
too overconfident in the first one, and so I just kind of cruised, and I was like, "Oh, my bad. I'll fix it, Jack. I'm sorry."
Gotcha. So did you feel like you had any ring rust, or were you just training so much that that's what gave you that confidence to feel like, you didn't have to overcome that?
I don't really think that ring rust exists too much. I think it's all a mental game, and it's just how you
Mhm.
talk to yourself and how because we've all done it before, and we're all training at the dojo. It's just trying to get your head in the right area and kind of just show your skills and just believe in yourself.
So how long have you been doing martial arts? I know that you come from a karate family. You have a family-owned karate school. Is this sort of in your blood? Were you born into it?
I actually started martial arts when I was 4 years old, but again, I don't want to say like I don't want to point out like quantity of years. I'd rather show the quality of years. Like the last 10 years, I really got around the right people.
Okay.
My childhood influences really showed me the way, especially on the West Coast. We used to have these things called open mats, and there'd be Doom Laos, there'd be Nunley's Karate Do, there'd be Froms, and Mr. DeSalle. I'm trying to name everybody. I don't want to miss anyone. But we'd come together and we'd all just kind of have a celebration of the martial arts where we'd be sparring, and we'd highlight the adults. And after every one, the black belts would come up and they'd say a message and try to give feedback to the kids, like you can be so much better than you are, and watch how you talk to yourself. And if you anything you want to do, you just have to do the work and just believe in yourself. Watch how you talk to yourself. It's just that's all I have to say about that. Sorry, I rambled.
No, yeah. Do you find that you sort of repeat those messages? Even, you said the past 10 years, so that could have been 10 years ago you've heard those things. Do you find yourself repeating them both to yourself and to your students?
I mean, you have to, right? Especially as martial arts, it's all about, for me, it's about giving back. And I think that's why I still compete, and that's why I coach my kids. And there was a time there where I wasn't really focused on fighting. I was focused on coaching, and maybe that's why I wasn't like super known or stuff like that. It's just I didn't really focus on me. But I think the best way to lead is always by example. And so I didn't get that. And so while I'm still young, while I'm still in my 20s, I'm gonna do as much as I can for as long as I can, and show my kids that if you believe in yourself and you just do the work, you can do great things.
Yeah, that's great. And so after a year and a half of not competing, and then you come in and you win open weight, what's your next tournament going forward? I know Battle's coming up. Do you intend on doing more of those competitions and bringing your students there? What are your visions for this next year?
I think I really just want to train with everybody for the most part. I'm not going to say that Battle's for sure my next one, but I'm looking at that one for sure. I know I was going to go 2020 this last year, but it was shut down. I was there 2019 and I won my division, but I unfortunately lost to Curatolo because the guy has my number right now. He's a good sidekick, and yeah, it's just tough.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's see. Larry Garcia just said open mats in SF Bay area started in the early 2000s, Friday and Saturday nights, great mix of talent. So can you talk a little bit more about those, that talent that I feel like is so abundant in the West Coast? We were talking before the show about just some, logistical barriers that come with some of the scenes on NASCA. I know that there's NBL as well, but, that come with the fact that a lot of tournaments are driving distance for East Coast fighters, but not so much. You said you had to drive 8 hours for this one. So could you just tell me more about the fighting on the West Coast?
I think we have a lot of talent on the West Coast, especially, and maybe you're correct, we don't have that platform. But I think, to be honest, it might be something in the water. Man, you guys on the East, there's something about you guys where it's just like you're competitors and you're hungry and there's everything. You want everything. On the West, it's a little more lax, and I don't know what it is. It's just maybe they're focused on other things, or maybe it's just because we're a little more chill out here.
A little different vibe.
Yeah, it's a total different vibe. But if West Coast competitors really wanted to compete, we'd go East, and
right.
It's just about making the correct sacrifices. And yes, ma'am, that's about all I could say about it.
So speaking of which, there is an Instagram account that I didn't know until today that your dad ran, and it's West Coast Fighters, really giving them a platform because of how big social media has gotten these days. Sort of what are the can you speak on the goals that your father has with highlighting those West Coast fighters?
I know there are a select few of us who really want to grow our brand or grow our name, and so what that was is just his attempt of just giving us some love, because it's a little harsh. I mean, this is how I've been competing for years, and this is probably the first time I've ever been on Point Fighter Live. And I think it's just a way. I think there was that one page. It was called Fight Films, and we looked at that, and there's just everybody's getting highlights. And can't talk on Fight Films right now. Sorry. But yeah, there's just one way of my dad highlighting just fighters that are hungry out here, and we're just trying to get it and grow our brand.
I feel like West Coast fighters have a certain style of fighting. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys just, it's hard to put my finger on it, but can you sort of expand on maybe what I'm feeling but I can't vocalize, what that type of fighting that you guys have? Because when I watch you guys from like the Bay Area, fighters from the Bay Area and like the West Coast in general, there's this, I can't put it into words, but do you know what I'm trying to say perchance?
Actually, yeah.
Okay, see, it speaks for itself, but go ahead.
I've worked with Bailey a few times, and he called it bouncy. But realistically, I just like, if you had the Alex Arceus, if you had the guys from Proper, we're just dancing out there. We got a rhythm, and we just like to show it through our fighting style, and it's just having fun. I just like to say we're dancing. We like to be smooth.
Yeah, it's smooth. That's what it is. It's smooth. It's not really like erratic. It's very entertaining, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. I think the first time I ever saw it, it was with Kyle Richards, Sean Arceo, Sean Doomlau, people from like 2006. That's quite a bit ago, but I was like, man, they look good out there. I want to move like that eventually, and hopefully I move like that now. I can't really say. I don't want to talk for myself.
Well, what would you say? I know sometimes it's hard to reflect a little bit because we're ourselves, and it's hard to be objective about ourselves. But what would you say your strengths and your weaknesses are as a martial artist, and more specifically as a fighter, because you just won open weight?
I think my biggest strength is my footwork and my setups. It's something that Jack has ingrained into me for the last few years, and it's just I think I like to throw the back fist, and as long as you set it up properly, you'll be able to throw it. And if you watch Jack fight, he has a side kick, he has his back fist, and sometimes reverse, but nothing other than that. And what he does is he kind of sees what someone else does, and he takes away their strengths and just uses his strength. I think that's huge, especially since he's not the tallest guy and he's not the most athletic. My weakness, probably for the longest time, would probably be my mental game. And what really helped me was actually doing these Zooms, is just because I always saw people. I'd always look at someone else. I'd always look at other fighters and say, oh, man, that's this guy. I'm not going to name drop right now, but I was like, oh, man, that's him. That's that guy. And I never really bought into my own name. Like, hey, I put in the work too, or I'm doing just as much as these guys are. And what the Zooms did is it really gave me affirmation that what I was doing was correct. And it's just about putting the time in and staying dedicated in. Again, talking to yourself. Sorry, go ahead.
You know, what specifically do you mean about the Zooms thing in there? Are you talking about? Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you. This whole last year, I think Toli Kushner out of Germany, he had these huge seminars, online seminars. Gotcha. They did it every Saturday. We had these other ones I did with Next Level, where he brought in people like Sir Avery Plowden. He brought in people like Jody, Ross, Ray. I gotta name everybody. And then, did I say Kayla already? But it was just literally everyone or names throughout the whole sport. And I was like, they're really not doing anything different than I am. So why can't I believe in myself?
Right. So, with this pandemic, you were able to both learn from and see the names and the people that you sort of idolized and made as role models in your head, and saw that, I'm doing the same thing. Maybe I'm doing more. I need to put some stock into what I'm doing and the name on my back, right? Is yes, that what sort of, okay, that's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you yourself, you have a lot of fight knowledge, a lot of martial arts knowledge, and you have your own students. And something that I find as both a student of martial arts myself and a teacher, sometimes I encounter instructors that are unwilling to learn or unwilling to be vulnerable and accept when there's knowledge out there that they might not have yet acquired, despite the plethora of knowledge that they can teach others. And seeing you at Bailey's weekend workout that one time that I attended was really impressive to me, because I know how many students you have, but also how eager you were to learn from someone who's younger than both you and I, and asking him so many questions that you could take back to your students for yourself and them. So could you expand a little bit more on your philosophy about learning as both an instructor and a student in martial arts?
I I've met a lot of instructors like that, and I think it really is just like, I think they talk quantity of years, or they'll talk about how much they know, but it's just we're all learning. And I mean, you have to kind of check your ego and you have to check your pride. And just because Bailey or just because Tyreek are both younger than me doesn't mean I can't learn from them. They're both top of the game, right? And so they have some insight. They're not just winning by mistake. And so it's just me checking my own ego and just saying, well, I'm willing to learn and I want the information, and so I'm going to go get it. And that's the same thing with competing, right? It's just like same like us West Coast guys. Even if maybe there's not much of a platform, we still have to get out there. If we really want to succeed, if we really want to grow as martial artists, we really want to grow our name, we have to throw ourselves out there in the water, regardless of a win, regardless of a loss. It's just getting that information. Hi, Sir Mike. How you doing?
Yeah, you have a lot of supporters in the comment section, so make sure you go back through this live and watch it and look through those comments. So my last question is, I know that in general you said you're here, you're in it for the long haul, you're in your prime, 26, winning the first tournament you come back to after a year and a half. What long-term and short-term goals do you have for yourself in this sport?
Long-term goal? I think I said it earlier. It's just like 10 years from now, I don't want to look back knowing that I could have done more. I want to be able to just do as much as I can right now and just kind of reminisce and say, well, maybe I wasn't the most successful, but I did everything that I could, and I'll just be happy with myself at the end of the day. A short-term goal, just really training my students, talking to them, growing my school, yeah. And then can I also make a shout out to my mom, to be honest?
Of course. I'm sure she's watching.
My mother's going through a battle right now, and that was one of my inspirations for this tournament is I'm gonna get emotional in a second. Let me breathe. She's going through cancer right now, and she started her chemo treatments, and I just wanted to win one for her, just because a tournament really is just us celebrating the martial arts, or us just going out there and just testing ourselves. But I really didn't understand like a struggle or a fight until she really had to like fight for her life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta catch myself. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she's so proud, not just of a first place that you took back home, but of just the dedication that you continue to show every day, and the support that I'm sure that you're giving her that she needs from her family. She's definitely in my thoughts, and
thank you.
I hope that everything turns out okay and she gets well, and she's lucky to have a son like you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Oh, could I say Alex Reyes is his slogan?
Sure.
I just want to say power, baby. Just like one hand up.
And we can end it on that. Yeah, because I can never capture the power that he does.
Right.
But yes, it was, I'm so glad to have you on this show. The first of hopefully not the last time, MJ. And it was great to learn a bit more about your story.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all the supports and comments. I hope everybody has a great night.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.